Now what will it be? Death or exile?
What's up, guys? All you citizens of the cinematic wastelands, as my friend Lupe would say. All of you who've been exiled for your horrible or hot or great movie takes, whatever they are, we welcome you. We love you all. It's another review from the film Exiles. I'm Christian. I'm so happy to be here, as always. It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
Yes, it has.
I'm glad we're getting back into it. We got a lot of content coming up, guys. First of all, you've already heard his voice. I am joined today by one of the OG Exiles, one of the guys who helped start it all. Lupe, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here. Surviving the apocalypse as usual. You guys, come rain, come sunshine, come pandemic, come apocalypse, I'll still be here.
It's good to hear your voice, man. I'm glad you're still here, and I hope you're continuing to stay healthy. And everybody out there, I think it's the Easter season for a lot of people, so God bless all of you, and keep staying healthy. So we're going to get through this together, and that's what the Exiles are here for. So today, we're going to go into some non-spoiler thoughts as we've hit the halfway point of the Falcon and Winter Soldier. So this is the second Marvel streaming show created for Disney Plus as they're trying to expand their reach. And I want to remind everybody, while this is non-spoiler, Lupe and I are assuming that everybody is up to date on the MCU up to now. So we figured you've watched Endgame, you watched WandaVision, the last Spider-Man movie. If you haven't, give us a pause, make sure you check everything out, then you can come back. So now I've watched the first 3 episodes so far. Lupe hasn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this to Lupe. We have this broken down. We're going to try to keep it brief, just go into some technical aspects, talk about the cast. Does this expand the MCU a little bit, or is it the same old, same old? So Lupe, why don't you ask me a couple questions, and let's talk to people and tell them should they or should they not watch The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
All right. Sounds pretty easy. Let's do it. So, first thing I want to ask you is just overall, what's the quality like? There's a quality expectation that we have with Marvel movies. You know, when you see it, good VFX, good, cinematography, it's a good acting level. So is this like a step down? And also, I'd like you to, sort of balance that with the fact that I think this has a female director, who's worked on pretty much all the episodes. Her name is Carrie Scogland, and she's done stuff for like Handmaid's Tale, Fear the Walking Dead, House of Cards, Boardwalk Empire, Netflix's Punisher series. So, what's the quality of the overall series?
So, like, it's definitely, I'm glad that she has all of that credit. So, they were working with somebody that has experience, but it still feels like it's under MCU/Kevin Feige. So it still feels like it's in that universe. I didn't notice a huge step down. This is a smaller series, so it's not Endgame level or Infinity War level. It's a little bit smaller. It relies more on the stunts. We'll talk about that later, and some of the relationships. So there were a couple of times when I noticed the CGI. There's a bit of a step back from what you would see in an MCU movie, but the quality is still there. Like Bucky's arm still looks fantastic. Falcon still looks great when he's flying. So the quality is still there. It is what you would expect to see. Maybe a step back, but only a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Next up, let's dive right into like the cast. I really want to know. So the headliners are Falcon, aka Sam Wilson, played by Anthony Mackie, and the Winter Soldier, aka Bucky Barnes, played by Sebastian Stan. This thing is not going to work if these characters don't work as a duo and individually just as actors. So what can you tell us about their acting performances and their chemistry?
Right off the bat, the chemistry between the two men is very good. So they work very well together.
Glad to hear that.
Yeah, they bounce off one another very well. Part of the problem is they haven't been built up as very interesting characters. But for the two of them, yes, they work very well together. I am feeling that Sebastian Stan is starting to separate himself a little bit. Not that Anthony Mackie's terrible. It's just that Bucky's a more compelling character. So there's more to work with there. And Sam has the legacy on his back, of maybe potentially being the next Cap. But right now, Bucky's dealing with a lot more trauma. So he's become the more interesting character. Yeah.
Right. All right. Would that have anything to do with the fact that Bucky as the Winter Soldier was introduced as his own character? He came in like a thunderstorm, like a whirlwind in the Winter Soldier movie, but Falcon came in as the side character, and it always seemed to be that. Does that dynamic, does that still linger?
I could see that lingering. That's a good point that you bring up. Yeah, I could see that lingering because you got that history and what poor Bucky went through. And Sam is a veteran, so he's been through some shit. But I agree with you. You still kind of feel like he's a side character. He's a sidekick, and that stinks a little bit. I think it brings his character down a bit, and it's unfortunate. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Marvel movies used to have a reputation for not having great villains. I think they've shaken that with a few really good ones, like Thanos, Killmonger, even the Winter Soldier. Ironically, they're better villains. So how is the villain in this one? What can you tell us about the villain or villains?
So I'll tell you two quick things. So number one, it's no secret that Zemo returns in this. He's been all over the trailers and everything. And as a villain, he's better in this than he was in Civil War.
Okay, that's good to hear.
I can't reveal much more of what he does, or I'm going to ruin the plot for you. So I can't say much, but he's better.
All right.
The second, I will say less. The second thing I want to mention, though, is there's another group that you could call them villains, but their motivations are much different than what I would have expected in the MCU. So keep that in the back of your mind. So there's a group of villains, but yeah, I don't know if you can call them villains yet. So
okay. All right, cool. I like that. A little bit of intrigue, a little bit of mystery, a little bit of complexity. I'm digging it. Okay. Next up, I want to ask you about some random technical things. Like, what's the world building like? So we know this is part of the MCU. How does it fit into the wider narrative? Does it feel like it's necessary? Does it feel like it's just a fun detour? How do you feel watching it?
So it's the first episode. I was wondering if this was necessary outside of the very personal episode for Sam and Bucky. And that's really what it was. And it was nice to see that. I was like, I questioned it because I wasn't sure if this was a necessary show. It was nice to see their journey. But other than that, it was like, But one of the things the show is starting to do that now I'm very happy about, I'm really ticked off that the MCU hasn't done much post-snap, right? What's the after effects of 5 years of people being disappeared and now suddenly they're thrust back into the world again? This show's starting to do that. And I really think that's important moving forward because it plays into the motivations of so many of the characters. So that's what's important here, I think. Yeah.
All right. Very cool. What about major themes in this? So are there some like really cool major themes that they're tackling? Or is it just empty and nothing's going on? Talk to us about that.
I question the MCU sometimes with the stakes, like something's going to happen and are we going to feel the effects? So I don't know yet if we're going to feel what's going to happen like in episode 6, if there's going to be huge stakes, a payoff, if we're going to see it in phase 4 with the movies coming up. So I don't know that yet, but what they're setting up right now are two major themes. Legacy is definitely the biggest theme. Steve's gone, but his legacy, his influence hangs heavy over the first 3 episodes of this show. Can anybody truly be the type of man that he was? Can they sacrifice what he did? Neither Bucky nor Sam feel like they can do that, and they always feel like they're second best. And that legacy theme is something that's always going to be there. And the second theme that's really running through the show is like this forgetting about people that have sacrificed and done things for us, or people that have given up, or people of color, things like there's a huge, the second episode, I can't ruin it, but there's a massive racism thread in that episode and the experiments that the government may have done which we know has happened in the real world.
Of
So
course.
those are very interesting threads that I'm still don't know how they're going to come to play at the end, but they did hit you a little bit in the show, and I'm happy they're going with these themes right now because it's different than the galactic, like, oh, I'm wearing an Infinity Gauntlet theme. This is definitely a little more grounded than I would have expected.
Okay, I can dig it. I can dig it. Sounds good to me personally. All right, tell me about the stunts and the action, because I wasn't very interested in this series, to be honest, until I saw the trailer. The trailer was very action packed, and the action was very reminiscent of the Winter Soldier. So how is the action and the stunts choreography so far?
So it's Winter Soldier-esque, I will say, and I was totally unimpressed with the first episode because I was expecting the same thing. I was like, oh, there's this great opening sequence, and then it's just this personal journey for Sam and Bucky, which is fine. But I was totally unimpressed. I was like, wow, that's. And then there's two great sequences in both the second episode and the third that really have that, because no one's shooting laser blasts anymore, right? There's nothing like that. No one's got repulsor blasts coming out of their hands or anything. These are bullets. People are getting shot. People are holding knives, and it's just a better action sequencing and choreography, a la Winter Soldier. My opinion, it doesn't quite get to that level, but I think you're going to enjoy some of the stunts here, but I wouldn't expect that level yet. Who knows what's going to happen in the last 3 episodes?
Okay. Well, finally, before we head out, you've given some really good points. Tell me, what are any sort of criticisms or failings that you feel so far at the midway point that you hope it could do better towards the end, or if it's something that's not done well and you just feel like that's not going to be resolved in 3 episodes?
I think there's 2 major things that stick out. Number one, I get the feeling sometimes this is longer than WandaVision per episode. I think it's like 55 minutes per, 53 minutes. But sometimes I feel like I'm watching a 6-hour movie. I'm in the middle of one that probably could have been done in 2.5 to 3. There's a little bit of filler happening in here, and I didn't feel that way in WandaVision because it was so different and new. But in this, I feel like that, and not that it's boring per se, but I'm like, like, did I need that? Like, it's going a little too far. So that's probably the one thing. And the other thing that I would mention is that while this show definitely cuts back on the typical MCU forced comedy, there's a few times when I rolled my eyes. My wife and I smiled, but was like, oh, come on. Like, we're dealing with something really heavy here. You didn't have to crack a joke, to split the tension. I kind of wanted the tension thick, and they decided to crack a joke. And it was like, come on. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so overall, what are your final thoughts on it? And do you think that MCU audiences would love this? And do you think that general audiences would? Although, to be sincere, those lines are becoming, it seems like, honestly, there's nothing like general audiences anymore. It's just
right.
MCU fans. MCU has captured all the general audience.
They've kind of crisscrossed it. I agree with you. I think that if you're an MCU fan, you enjoy this stuff, you're probably going to enjoy this as well. I don't think there's a lot. What you got to do is don't do what you did, and a lot of MCU fans in WandaVision like built up this headcanon, what they wanted the show to do. As long as you're not expecting Magneto and the X-Men to show up or something crazy like that, this is a personal journey for both Sam and Bucky. They're trying to figure out their legacy. Do they measure up to Steve? If you keep it at that, I think you will enjoy the show. It's good. It is good. It's got great stunts. The performances aren't bad at all. It feels like the MCU. If you're not into the MCU, though, Lupe, here's the thing. If you were never into these characters or you were never into this universe, I don't know if this show does anything new to pull you in. That's the thing. That's the key. Yeah, I think if you've already, like me, if you're in this ecosystem, you want to see it continue. But if you're not into it, I'm not sure the show does anything brand new to pull you into that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can speak on my experience with WandaVision. So, WandaVision, not really, married to the MCU. I'm not married to the characters either. My favorite characters in the MCU are evil Winter Soldier, like the Terminator Winter Soldier, not nice guy. Also really like Cap Tony Stark, Black Panther, of course. But with WandaVision, I was really interested in it because of how different it was and how experimental it was. And it was using a very unusual structure and something that could be a gimmick, but it was so woven naturally into the plot. I really loved the episodes that were in, Wandaland.
Yeah.
As it went through the eras, it was really well done, visually interesting. But then the stuff that was more regular, that's where it lost me. It just seemed like, generic, normal MCU stuff. And so like the finale was a big letdown for me. I actually didn't like the villain at all. So you have this, tale of two sides of a coin. I really, 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 really enjoyed the Wonderland stuff, but then the stuff that wasn't, I didn't. But overall, I did like it because I felt like the emotional component, they did a very good job with it. Very, very good job, especially by lead actress. I'm forgetting her name.
Oh, Elizabeth Olsen.
Elizabeth Olsen, yeah.
Very good in the show.
She really delivered all the emotions. It's about, grief and loss and, trauma. That she sold all of that. But when it comes to just, like the logic stuff of like, it was just at some point I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna turn my brain off and just let things slide. So overall, I thought it was okay. I would say it was overrated for all the hype that it got. Vastly, way, way, way too overrated. So I mean, I love comic book stuff, so I'm going to watch this, and I'll let you guys know how I receive it. Thanks for sharing your opinion with us.
I will say one thing real quick. That's the thing that does worry me about the end of the show. They've started a lot of threads here that the MCU doesn't usually go to. I am concerned in the last 3 episodes if they're going to pull a WandaVision where it's like, you were so close. You were so close.
But the thing with WandaVision is that I wasn't expecting like a big reveal or like X-Men.
I get that. Yeah, I get that.
Wasn't. What the thing is just that it just became normal. It just became normal.
Yeah.
MCU flashing lights, throwing bolts. So I'm an evil person and you're evil. It was.
Yeah,
I didn't like it at all. Let me just leave it that way.
Yeah,
but
I got you.
if they had kept everything in Wonderland all the way to the end somehow, made every single episode a spoof and a parody of different eras of sitcoms and TV and reality shows, and they could have done game shows. There's a lot that they could have done, and they held it all the way until the end. I would have preferred it to instead of ending in this traditional, basically pyrotechnics with superheroes.
Totally understood.
Yeah,
no, totally understood.
But we'll see how this one goes. I'm optimistic. I'm definitely gonna watch it. I don't know if I'm gonna just wait until the final episode and then binge it all, or if I should just dive in probably after the next episode. But we'll see.
Hey, 3 more weeks, so binge it.
Just 3 more weeks, not too long to wait. But thank you very much for your take. We're really looking forward to your final season review on it. I might be able to join you if I watch it in time.
Sure.
And that's all we have for the people. Should you watch it, your consensus is basically if you're an MCU fan, you're likely to like it and you should definitely get to it. But if you're not, maybe not.
It might be tougher for you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, tell the people where you can find them. I've been yours truly, Lupe. You can find me on Twitter at LiveLoveLupe, on Vero as well at LiveLoveLupe.
And everybody, you can find me. I'm Christian. I'm on both Instagram and on Twitter at Chart6363.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Let's stay together. Until next time.
Stay. Didn't really work the way we wanted, but that's okay.
Yeah.